Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings, and to put it simply, the world is changing at a very fast rate. The only way to change it for the better is to fully understand what's happening, which we try to do on this YouTube channel. And that's why, of course, we get into issues that the mainstream media will never touch or dare to tell you. And in this video, we will be getting into the Texas shooting, the incredible geopolitical storm brewing around Saudi Arabia with many fearing world war, more important news surrounding Seth Rich, and I'm actually going to do the unthinkable and defend Donald Trump for once. Now, of course, a lot of the news is centered around the latest shooting that just took place at a Texas church, and a lot of the important issues that I think are relevant to this mass shooting I brought up about 4 weeks ago when talking about the Las Vegas shooting, where I specifically called out people for spreading fake news about this incident to fit their political bias in order to get more views and attention for their media organizations, and I went over very important details about how the media's coverage of the Las Vegas mass shooting will actually spur and cause more mass shootings, inspiring other people to take those kind of actions because of the glaring psychological factors that the mainstream media does not understand, and actually helps inspire more of these incidences to happen. And unless we stop the media, alternative and also mainstream media, for being as horrible as they are during these incidences, trying to push political agendas, affiliations, and their personal beliefs on you during tragedies, standing on top of the graves, you can only expect these problems to get worse. And because I hate doing duplicitous content, please, if you get a chance, just watch this video and replace Las Vegas with the Texas shooter to get a full comprehensive view of the problems that we are facing and how to fix them. And now, moving forward to another critically important developing story, we of course have massive military saber rattling happening all over the world right now, as we've seen the United States launch 7 of their 11 U.S. aircraft carriers for the first time in 13 years, showing off their military prowess, while Israel at the same time began their largest ever aerial military drill in the Middle East, as tensions are rising in that region to an incredible level. Especially the larger geopolitical storm around Saudi Arabia right now, which is in the middle of a large coup or power grab by their leader, ousting many members of their royal family and princes from power and arresting them, in which Donald Trump said he had full confidence in King Salman, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, who, by the way, has a very aggressive foreign policy established in Saudi Arabia right now. And with the support of the United States, there's definitely a greater move being made here during the coup in Saudi Arabia, which we are just learning now has just confiscated $33 billion from 4 of its richest people in their country, and has frozen over 1,200 bank accounts directly linked to the royalty that was just arrested in that country. 2 royal family princes have died during this coup, and of course, many people, rightfully so, are not believing the Saudi empire when they say these actions are to stop corruption, but is ultimately a bigger power play from a declining empire, which I think many people underplay the fact that the Saudi empire is in decline, because they themselves know that they will be economically screwed in the years ahead, with the demand for fossil fuels going down, America becoming more energy independent, them having to import water and food with a massive welfare state in their country. They themselves know that oil is not going to be the future, while being armed to the teeth with the latest US military weapons technology. The death throes of a failing empire usually always historically include war, which we're seeing Saudi Arabia push for, as they just said that Lebanon is declaring war against it because of, quote, Hezbollah's aggression in that country, which of course is directly linked to Iran. And we know that Lebanon has been long in the sights of the US war machine for a number of years now, and of course a conflict between Saudi Arabia and Lebanon would of course be supported by Israel and the United States. And it's not just Lebanon that is Saudi Arabia's target, but also directly Iran, which Saudi Arabia accused of direct aggression, and says that it reserves the right to respond to Iran in the appropriate time and manner for what they call an act of war, when a missile was intercepted over the capital of Saudi Arabia that originally flew from Yemen, where Saudi Arabia and Iran are already involved in a proxy war that of course is escalating and created a humanitarian crisis in that country with the support of the United Kingdom, the United States, and Saudi Arabia bombing Yemen to smithereens, specifically also going after civilian targets like schools and hospitals, with, of course, the latest high-tech U.S. military equipment. The United States also said that it backed Saudi Arabia in their aggressive statements against Iran, and some analysts are seeing it that Saudi Arabia is pushing Israel and the United States to a war with Hezbollah and Iran. But in reality, as I have been warning you and telling you about this for a number of years now, it is Israel, the United States, and Saudi Arabia who are working together in an unholy alliance, not only protecting themselves, but being aggressive against their geopolitical Middle Eastern opponents who are usually backed by Russia and China, which again is confirmed today as we are seeing newly leaked diplomatic cables, documents that confirm Israel and Saudi Arabia are coordinating together to provoke a war, showing them working in coordination to, quote, do everything possible to ramp up diplomatic pressure against Hezbollah and Iran, to of course counter Iran and Yemen, and deliberately working together to escalate the situation in the Middle East towards more war. And this shouldn't be a surprise to our audience, but is to the world right now, as we've been calling this out and seeing the writings on the wall of this for months now. As we've been reporting to you, Jared Kushner, Donald Trump's senior advisor and son-in-law's secret trips to the Middle East that he has been taking recently, which Iran and their foreign minister are calling out directly as the cause for the Middle East turmoil happening right now. And honestly, with Saudi Arabia being the failing empire that they are, with the support of the United States and Israel, it is really only a matter of time until there is another war sparked between them and, of course, Iran, which has ties to Lebanon, Hezbollah, the Syrian government, and of course Russia and China, who, as of course we've been documenting on this channel, have been working together on an economic war against the US petrodollar. So yeah, that is the big geopolitical poop manure storm brewing right now in the Middle East, specifically around a declining empire in its death throes, trying to sustain itself like other empires throughout history with war. When it will happen, how it will happen, we do not know. But it is becoming an increasingly likely scenario that we should be paying attention to, focusing our attention to, and trying to prevent from happening in the first place. Let me know what you think of my geopolitical understanding in the comment section below, especially if you think I'm wrong. I always look forward to engaging with you guys and learning from you. But for me, this is the #1 priority and biggest problem that the world is facing right now, that of course you're seeing very little to non-existent coverage of in the mainstream media. Meanwhile, they distract you with stupid, asinine, idiotic, fake news like this one from CNN that said that Trump ended up pouring an entire box of food into a koi pond, which CNN rambled on about how this was a big sign of disrespect, would kill the koi fish, and then with selective editing forgot to show you how the leader of Japan did it as well, causing asinine outrage with people calling him a murderer of koi fish, saying that he was going to suffocate them, distracting us with fake news, vindicating Donald Trump against the smear and delusional attacks that are happening against them by the mainstream media, which of course vindicates him. And in this instance, Donald Trump is fully in the right. And this is not only a disgrace to journalism by CNN, but actually prevents real accountability happening to the commander-in-chief of the United States while distracting us with absolute garbage, trash, diarrhea, mouth-filled bullcrap as we lose sight and never focus on the real issues and threats facing humanity. And that's why the mainstream media is the biggest threat against humanity. And now, moving forward with more stories that the mainstream media previously suppressed but can't hold on to any longer, we're finding out more disturbing details around the media mogul sexual predator Harvey Weinstein, where we found out today that he actually hired ex-Mossad agents and an army of spies to gather details about his victims, actors, and other journalists in a terrifying and very costly attempt to suppress all allegations against him, including one agent that actually tricked actress Rose McGowan for months using the alias of a woman's rights activist, showing how he paid over $600,000 for information against his victims and other journalists who wanted to expose his crimes to the world. Once again, showing you how big money and power which by the way was connected to the political establishment, and the lengths that they are able to go to get away with their horrible crimes. And now, in another story that reads like it's out of a spy novel, we of course have more updates about Donna Brazile, the brave former DNC chairwoman, who this week came out and not only said that Bernie Sanders was robbed by Hillary Clinton in the 2016 presidential election, and also how she feared for her life after the death of DNC staffer Seth Rich. We're now finding out that there's a lot more to that story, as we're finding out that Donna Brazile has dedicated this new book with her explosive revelations dedicated directly to Seth Rich. Now again, this week, Donna Brazile has also been smeared. Lies have been told about her by the Democratic establishment, with them even going as far as to say that her eyewitness accounts of corruption and illegal, immoral activities by Hillary Clinton are a part of Russian propaganda. Now I think this story makes it very clear that there's a lot more to the story about the mysterious death of DNC staffer Seth Rich than just a botched robbery that we've been told by the authorities, and that the death of this DNC staffer, who many believe was the official leaker of the DNC emails to WikiLeaks, needs to be investigated, and the least of all, of course, never forgotten, since we are getting more and more hints pointing to the fact that there's a lot more to the story than what we are actually being told, which of course the mainstream media is going to lie and cover up about and never tell you. But that's why we're here, and we're mainly only here because of your support, your contributions, and donations on wearechange.org/donate, which of course I wanted to say thank you, giving me this opportunity to work for you and not a pedophile-infested, deep state taken over media industry, or even a quote independent one that is more sensational, fear-mongering, and salacious that drives on panic that makes you buy their products. I'm totally free to do this broadcast without any of those problems, and I sincerely thank you for it. If you know anyone that doesn't have this information available to them, please share this video with them. And once again, I love you guys. Thank you again so much for watching.